Hi, I'm Chief Bobby Halton, and welcome to REV's Apparatus and Technology Conference. We had an amazing morning. If you didn't catch it, it's live on demand, so you can go back and watch the earlier segments, which were just really a lot of fun and a lot of information. So please check it out. Hey, this is live and interactive. You can ask a question. There's that little ask a question deal. And if you want to wait and come to the round table after this segment, we're going to go into like one of those Brady Bunch Zoom call things, and we're going to take questions and we're going to talk to you. It should be a lot of fun. So we've got a really cool segment coming up. So I brought back I brought in Chris Wade, who we're introducing to you the first time today, and we brought back Roger because we're going to be looking at some technology. But before we do any of that, we'd like to take just a couple of seconds to thank the folks that made this all possible, the sponsors of this event. And this is a really important event, and these are really good people. USSC Valor, thank you so much. Our friends at WS Darley, our pals at Hendrickson, Whelan, and IDEX. You don't get better friends than that. You don't get better partners than that. USSC Valor, WS Darley, Hendrickson, Whelan, IDEX. Those are names you all know. Those are people you all trust. And those are the people bringing this presentation to you today. So thank you to all those fantastic sponsors. Thank you for being part of this. We really appreciate you. And we really want to let you know how grateful we are for your support of this important event. So now we're going to introduce you to a piece of technology, and it's really, really, to me, just kind of important. Spent a lot of times in buckets and ladders, and so Smart Reach technology is what we're going to be looking at. So let's take a look at the Smart Reach video.
So we've been working on this for about 3 years now, and we're really super excited to be bringing it to the market. It's got a whole lot of cool features. We think it's going to revolutionize the fire industry. So the first thing I want to point out is we're talking about the same legacy SMEAL, North American heavy-duty structure that we've always had, often imitated, never duplicated. This is going to give operators the confidence they need to be able to get to any structure that it can reach in a firm, non-flexible way. Secondly, all new hydraulics and electronics. So we've gone through every valve, every electronic part, and we've added to the legacy strong structure a high-tech electro-hydraulic system that operates smoothly and efficiently. So the Smart Reach electro-hydraulic controls provide the absolute ultimate in smooth operation. We use advanced ramping controls so that any operator, whether experienced or a brand new rookie, is going to operate this aerial in a smooth way that provides confidence to the people on the ladder and those around it. It includes a lot of other cool features. So we're talking about multi-stance technology, the ability to be able to put the outriggers out as far as you can get them or as narrow as you can get them and still be able to operate the apparatus. It includes dynamic load charts. So on a beautiful 10-inch color, sunlight readable display, you're going to be able to get all of the load chart information that changes dynamically as the aerial moves as well. Smart Reach technology also includes hydraulic oil tank improvements, double filtration, oil cooling, all things that are going to improve the serviceability and the longevity of our hydraulic system. This apparatus also includes outrigger obstruction detection. So when the truck moves next to something and the driver can look on the screen and see whether or not the outriggers are in a position that they can be deployed all the way. It also includes advanced rung lighting, which is an awesome, cool feature that we're going to be talking about more later. There are just so many things about this truck that we're really excited to talk to you about, and we're going to go into those details in the following sessions.
That was a pretty amazing video, and when you look at the lighting at the end, I was like, wow, not only is it important for safety, it was beautiful. It just made the rig look beautiful. So I really appreciate that. We're talking about Smart Reach. there's a lot to unpack, and we're going to get more into it in a little bit. But was there anything you want to dovetail on from the video? Anything you want to throw in? Either Chris, Raj?
So I think that we're going to spend an hour talking about this stuff. I'm so excited for it. It is really cool. We're bringing in a whole new level of technology to SMEAL legacy, device that has been out there in the industry for so long and is relied on by so many firefighters. But being able to bring the modern technology in and the multi-stance feature, I'm super excited to talk about it. So
and they go together. So the reason Jack did that, and thank you, and before Chris jumps in here, the reason that Raj threw that in there is that before you do anything on an aerial device, you set your outriggers. So when we're talking about your jack stance, the stance of your piece of equipment, that's a critical piece of reach, how much weight you can put on the ladder, what you can do with the tool when you deploy it. So the two go together. But when we talk about the smart reach, Roger and I had an interesting conversation yesterday. Chris, you probably appreciate this. We were talking about movement, and smart reach, and we were kind of equating it to the old drum brakes versus modern brakes, where the computers now can send so many impulses that the smoothness of these devices, of this aerial, is just unbelievable. And it has controls where you can put it to a manual, set it, or you can allow the computer inside this device to make it as smooth as glass, which I love.
Yeah, I do too. And it's, I always try to work with our engineers to make sure that they're thinking about, it isn't just the 20-year veteran that's going to operate these things. There's young people, rookies as well, and we want the machine to be able to make even the newest person on the force look like they're an expert when they're operating this device.
And it's not just operating the device itself, it's operating on it, which is just as important. And one of the early things they do with young firefighters, one of the things we do in kind of the discriminating tests we put people through to see if they've got the right skill set, is climbing, an aerial device, 100 foot or whatever. Because when the first time you get up that high on an aerial, it's an interesting moment in time because of the exposure. So having that, be able to move that smoothly and accurately and proficiently, key to solid fireground operations.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the controls are one thing, but the controls don't help you at all unless you have a strong, stiff device to climb on. So if you've got something that's up there swaying in the wind because it's designed in such a way to take a lot of weight out, and maybe you want a single axle, so you got a really light device, but that light device has trade-offs, and one of the hugest trade-offs is that it makes them very scary to climb, and that's not what we're talking about here.
You're exactly right. The last thing in the world you want to be on is an aerial device that's swaying. It is not something that's reassuring. You like that feeling of stability. So really like the design of this piece of equipment behind us. I can't wait to get on it. I'm chomping at the bit. But the second part of it is the stance of the apparatus. What does the terrain afford us? What's the environment afford us? How far can we set our outriggers? Do we have to short jack? Are we on a slope? Are we on terrain that's level? That's a big deal. And if you spend time on an aerial device, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So if you're okay, Roger, I'd like to go to the video on jack stance, so we can talk about the stance of the apparatus and how that integrates with Smart Reach so that you get the maximum performance out of your SMEAL apparatus, which I think is pretty phenomenal stuff. So Mr. Producer, if you wouldn't mind rolling that jack stance video.
Hi, my name is Roger LaCour with Rev Fire Group. I'm the Director of Product Development. Today we're going to talk about multi-stance. So behind me you see the Smart Reach multi-stance demo truck. Multi-stance is a Rev patented application where you really get 3 trucks in one. So today we may sell you a truck with a ladder that's good for 750-pound tip load. Another fire department might buy one with a 250-pound tip load. With Smart Reach multi-stance, you get 3 trucks for the price of 1. So in any application where you're able to get the outriggers spread to a full 16-foot jack spread, then you can put 3 people at the tip, 750-pound rating all day long. If, on the other hand, you can only have enough room to get out to a 12-foot jack spread, you can have a 250-pound rating. If you can only get out to a 12-foot jack spread on one side, but can still get to a 16-foot jack spread on the other side, multi-stance allows you to operate on the wide side at 750 pounds, and then when you swing across to the narrow side, you can operate at 250 pounds. The wonderful thing about this is it gives you plenty of flexibility. First off, flexibility at the scene. So depending upon what the scene looks like, you may be able to operate today with multi-stance where you couldn't in the past, because all you need to do is get out to that 12-foot jack spread and you can operate. If you have plenty of room, send the jacks out all the way and you're good to go for a 750-pound tip rating. Another flexibility that it gives you is if you're a fire chief and you have a fleet of Smart Reach multi-stance products, you could put one truck downtown and set it up so that it's only operable in a 250-pound tip rate narrow stance version, and you could have a sister truck in a suburban area that operates only in the 750-pound tip load variants. So that would be in the case if your SOPs and you feel more comfortable with a truck only doing, one thing at a time, you can have that flexibility. If you feel comfortable with your operators operating however they can work the truck at the scene, use multi-stance to its full capability. All of these things are flexibly programmed in a password protected file, and you, the fire chief, are in control. Once you get the truck on the scene, you, the operator, are in control. We do nothing to restrict the operation of the truck. Full horizontal reach, full 360-degree operation, no envelope control, no red zones, no areas where you can't operate. You got a truck, it'll do the same thing every time, dependably.
Hey, so that was a really important video that we just watched on jack stance, right? What is the stance of your outriggers? What does that do in terms of your abilities to put people onto your ladder or to perform rescue or to do a myriad of different operations that we want to do with a device such as this? Well, what we've done here with this SMEAL apparatus behind us, what Roger and Chris have done, is created a system that is, well, I'm not going to say it's foolproof because there's always some fool out there who defies that statement, but it's about as close to safety third as you could possibly get. And one of the things I wanted to point out before we get into too much of the technology is Roger had us set up the rig so that this outrigger is completely extended. And if you can see that one, on the outrigger itself, you see where it says 250, 500, and 750. Now that, at 750, would indicate that that's the tip weight carrying capability of this particular area device. But if you come back here, you can see on this particular outrigger, we are not fully extended. So this outrigger that I can see right here says 250, 250. This outrigger determines what we can do on this side of the apparatus.
Yep, that's correct. Yep, and I think one of the things we tried to create in all this was that you go into the scene, you set up however you can. So pull the truck in. If you can get all the way out to 750 on all around, you're good to go.
Good for you.
But if not, the truck knows that, and the truck's going to lead you by the nose to exactly where you need to be to stay safety third, like you were saying.
Yeah, and let's be straight. Nowadays, when we're talking about spotting an apparatus, particularly an aerial apparatus, you don't have to be in Boston or New York to have issues with traffic. Also, most buildings today are being built with protective setbacks, right? So you may have these concrete barriers. You may have all kinds of things that are going to prevent you from getting those outriggers fully extended. That has always been historically a huge issue in your jack slope, getting that rig positioned as squarely as you possibly can to get your jack stance out so that you've got your feet firmly planted on the ground for this piece of apparatus. So we'll get to slope in a minute. My word slipped there, but our stance. So I love the markings. I love what we've done here. I love the visibility of it. What else do you want to talk about?
Probably, and I think we cover in one of the videos, but I'd really like to highlight the fact that you're coming onto the scene. We also try to make it really easy for the operator because up in the cab, they're going to have a display that shows them when the outriggers are clear to be able to put out, and then also whether you can level the truck out on the slope that they're at the time. And so if you look right over here,
let's take a look at it.
Yeah, so right here by each one of these stabilizers, you got a sensor. That's a sensor that looks at this area right here. The display up in the cab is going to show you whether or not you can set up properly. And once you get there, even if you can't set up all the way out in the green, of course, multi-stance helps you out by letting you still operate 360 degrees, full extension. And the electronics on here is going to tell you exactly what it is that you need to do to ensure safety on the device, but still be able to operate.
So the sensor right there is telling us how far we can extend the outrigger, and so that gives us, while we're still in the cab, a solid indication of how we're going to be able to set the rig up.
Yeah,
so,
that along with the slope. Are you on a slope or a grade that's going to allow you to set up in the green zone for being level?
And I like the use of the term green zone because a lot of our military vets, and that's a common terminology for people who've been deployed, they understand when you're in the green, you're in the go. You're in the go.
Right.
And so having that kind of visual, having the right language, the right terminology, and great use of sensors. What a great idea, right? So, you know, sometimes it's hard visually to judge. Do I have 10 feet? Do I have 6 feet? Do I have 8 feet, 12 feet? Now you know, ironclad, we're good to go. All right.
Yep.
You want to talk about slope?
I think we're going to do that after the next video.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean.
Yep.
So,
yes.
Mr. Producer, if you wouldn't mind running a video on slope for us, please.
Hi, we're here with the Smart Reach multi-stance aerial apparatus. We're going to show you just how easy it is to set up on a side slope. So the truck right now is positioned on a 4.5 degree side slope. First thing we're going to do is we're going to come to the ground control access panel, open it up. You'll see we have a sunlight readable color display. That's going to give you all the information on the stabilizers you'd ever need to know. Next thing is we're going to run the stabilizer beams out to whatever location you want. In this case, we're going to go all the way out to the 750-pound tip load location, but we could have easily short jacked any one of them if we wanted to. This will level the truck even if we're short jacked on one or multiple stabilizers. And of course, using the multi-stance feature, this truck will be operational no matter whether you short jack or not. The next thing we do, we're going to push the button for automatic leveling. And then we can pick any one of the down jack paddles, push it down, and hold it there. The truck's going to level out for us. As the truck levels itself out and the stabilizers are planted, we get an indication on the display screen that everything's set and ready to go. We're ready for operation.
So when we're setting up our aerial devices, we've got our stance, which is the first thing we consider. Then we consider our slope, our terrain. So with this multi-stance that you're talking about, I saw a great video. You saw where Roger was on a pretty good slope, which would be pretty sporty back in the day for setting your outriggers and getting it right. That would be kind of an interesting level experience. This is a pretty neat innovation you've got going here. So now we're inside a facility right now, so we're not on that slope you saw. So as you look at this, realize that we've short jacked intentionally. Roger's got the graphics set up here. So explain to us what we'd be seeing on the fireground as we look back here at the back of the truck.
Sure. So we've got all the information that the operator is going to need on a 10-inch display. Those of you that were watching really carefully would have seen a 5-inch display on our prototype. As I was operating it and playing with it beforehand, I really thought, we need something a little bigger. So we went to a 7-inch display back here. It's exactly the same technology as that we'll look at and see up on the control console later. Full color. It shows you exactly where your outriggers are placed. But what I think the brilliant thing is that you don't really need to look at any of that, all right? So for me, I'm a meticulous guy, but I need to be able to think through things. If I'm in some situation where I'm rushed to do things, like you're on a fire scene, I don't want to be thinking about anything other than getting this thing set up and getting up top right away. So we've got a nice big tactile switch. You also might have picked up in the video that I was pushing a little button at the bottom down here. That we've done away with that. We've got a nice big tactile switch here. So the same things apply that I showed in the video, but this time you hit the switch like that, and then you go off and you hit your outrigger controls. And my favorite part of it is you don't have to do anything other than push any of 4 of those paddles down and let the truck do the rest of the work. Once you've leveled out, you're going to get a big display come out on the screen that says truck level, and you're good to go.
So what's the variability in level for this piece of apparatus? It doesn't have to be perfect, right?
So, and that's a good point, because what you saw in the video was that we were able to level on a pretty decent slope. This truck is set up with our standard jack penetration. We've got a extended penetration option that allows you to set up on even greater slopes and grades. And I would point out that when you're comparing this product to a product that's got 3 jacks, for instance, one that's perhaps got the 2 wide 18-foot jacks in the front and just the single jack underneath back here, really limited on the slopes that you can set up on. You get a Smeel extended penetration jack system with our Smart Reach and auto level, and you're going to be able to tackle just about anything out there, and way better than the competing products.
So it all kind of comes together, Chris, when we're looking at the panel, the Smart Reach, the auto level, and as you're looking at it, you can see on my right side, I'm good for 750. On my left side, I'm good for 250. That takes away a lot of working memory is now freed up for me to make other decisions. So to Roger's point, we're on the fire ground. We've got rescues to effect. We've got fire to put out. We've got a dozen things to think about. This has taken away one of those things we don't have to spend a lot of working memory on, or worry about calculations or anything else. There it is. It's going to auto level. I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to go.
And even with that setup, you have no limitation on the extension. That never comes into play here, so you don't have to be thinking out, where's my wall, and I'm going to hit on that extension. You've got full extension in every quadrant, regardless of what the tip load is. So that, it goes back to what you alluded to a couple times there. You talk about cars a lot. The aerial, the outriggers, it's like driving a car. You can go back 20, 30 years, turn the steering wheel, you have a brake pedal and the throttle pedal. They're still there today, but look what technology does to let us increase the capability of that product.
I don't know if you can see it, but over here we have a simple traditional level.
Always the manual backup for those people that feel they like that.
No, but I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Things happen. And so Smeel is not arrogant enough to think that things can't fail. And there you go. That's old school. It works. It's not going to be nearly as accurate as this, but in a pinch, it's going to work. That's attention to detail. That matters. I always go back to that Apollo 13 movie when the guys are stuck up there. He pulls all the computers off the table, takes out a whiteboard, moon, Earth, our guys, right? So, this is incredible. It's fantastic. It's going to work 99.9% of the time. This is comfort zone. There you go. And I love it. And it's really easy to see. And I do like the 10-inch screen that versus the 5. That's a it's very. My eyes are terrible. I can see that really clearly. So that was fantastic. So what do we want to look at next? What's our next video? Where are we in our pecking order here?
I think we're heading to the top of the truck.
We're going up.
Yep.
So, Mark, Mr. Producer, roll the next.
Hey, we're here with the Smart Reach multi-stance aerial apparatus. What we're going to show you here is we're going to set up on a level surface, but we're going to short jack one side, and then we're going to operate the aerial, show you how the multi-stance feature works on this apparatus. So I'm going to start by running the stabilizers out all the way on the driver's side. Then we'll come around to the passenger side. I'm going to put the front stabilizer out all the way, and then we're going to pretend that we've got some obstruction back here. I'm going to go out to the 500 extension position, and then, as we did before, we'll set the auto level and push down on any one of these down jack paddles and let the truck do its thing. Now, once the truck has leveled out, one of the things that you can do if you want to lift the truck up a little bit more is push down on that paddle again, and it's going to lift the outriggers and still remain in a level position. And now we're ready to operate. Let's go up top. Hey, we're on the top of the Smart Reach multi-stance aerial apparatus. I'm Roger LaCour, Director of Product Development for Rev Fire Group, and with me is Ryan Herman. He's with Innovative Fluid Power. We've been collaborating on this project, and we're really excited to talk to you today about aerial apparatus and the multi-stance feature. So we've got the new sleek, sexy control console here of the Smart Reach device. You can see we've got a 10-inch sunlight readable high definition display that's going to give you all the information that you need. Dynamic load chart. We've set the truck up already, and in this case we've set it up short jack. So we're set up on the driver's side to be able to operate at 750 pounds of tip load. On the passenger side, we short jacked one of the stabilizers, so that'll be set up to be able to operate a 500-pound tip load. And that tip load will change. It'll show on the display as we're operating it. Ryan's been doing a lot of the programming on this. Ryan, you want to tell us anything about the inner workings of the Smart Reach controls?
Yeah, definitely. With the Smart Reach system, it is a distributed I/O system, so we have a lot of feedback, we have a lot of diagnostic capabilities, but we're also showing the operator what they need to know and showing them the most important information on the screen. It actually does have graphics and animation, so you actually do see the ladder actually rotate and go through its motions, and then you also see actually elevation, and shows you exactly in the zone that you're at, so that therefore you can spend more time actually doing your job with putting the wet stuff on the hot stuff, and less time actually having to decide where you're at and everything else.
Sure, and we see all of the cool stuff after we're done, but Ryan spends a lot of time in the background of this program making sure that it's easy to troubleshoot and easy to maintain as well, right? You have a lot of screens behind here that allows the mechanic to do his job or her job more effectively.
Yeah, definitely. With the system, we actually do the whole chain of operations inside a lot of the diagnostic screens. So therefore you can actually see, you're pulling a joystick or a lever. You can see the decisions that have to be made as far as the interlocks, and then you can see the outputs of it. What that does is it allows you to instantly know where there could be a failure, or allow us to actually see right away what's going on inside there. There's also a lot of setup menus so that we can actually build many different styles of trucks and everything else.
So Ryan, one of the other things that we wanted to incorporate in this device was what we didn't want to incorporate, which was we didn't want a lot of extra claptrap that's involved when you try to do envelope control. So this is a traditional SMEAL apparatus that can operate anywhere you want to. The operator's in control. There's nothing that's going to limit you as far as rotation or reach. The display will tell you how many people you can put on the device at any point in time. But as far as operations go, you're in total control. Is that not correct?
It is. It is an informational screen so that we're trying to give you the best information we can.
All right, well let's get this thing up in the air and see how it operates. All right, we're going to get this aerial device up in the air. We'll start by depressing the operator presence switch, taking off the M-stop, and we're ready to go. So let's go up. Ryan, there's a lot of hydraulics and electronics in this to make it operate really smoothly, isn't there?
Yeah, so we are using a very smart load sense system, and we're also using smart manifolds so that we have very tight control over the fluid that's going out here. But we also have some really great valve ramping, so therefore it prevents a lot of oscillations, prevents a lot of whipping the ladder back and forth and everything else. Also, we tune the joysticks and we tune the valves so that you get some really nice fluttering and really nice control over this.
This is, I tell you, one of the smoothest devices I've ever operated. So if you were listening carefully just now, you heard the automatic high idle kick in. There's no need to do any diverter valve switching down below. We move seamlessly from the stabilizer deployment up to the operation. The truck's doing this all on its own. I can operate multiple functions at the same time, seamlessly and smoothly. I tell you, this is just a joy to operate. Hey, so now we're going to show you the multi-stance operation here. On this side, if you recall, we're set up for 750-pound tip load. On the passenger side, we're set up for 500. So as I rotate across here, the load chart is displaying 750 pounds of tip with the distributed load. As soon as I come across that line, it's going to stop and it's going to make me push the aerial device enable. At this time, it's saying, hey, look, Roger, you're going from a 750-pound tip load side to a 500-pound tip load side. Be aware that your load chart values are changing. I can look at it and say, oh, yep, I see the warning. I'm going to press the aerial device enable button, and now it's going to let me continue across onto the 500-pound tip load short jack side. Can still operate, can still move this thing wherever I want to go. But as an operator, I know that I am only going to put 2 people out on the tip instead of the normal 3.
Hey, Bobby Halton, and we are back. So we're up on top of the platform now. We're at the bottom of the stick, but the top of the platform. So this is where the controls are. We're going to go over the hydraulic controls in just a moment, but it's a beautiful platform. It's roomy. It's easy to get up and down. You know, if you're a bunkered up firefighter, it's a very maneuverable space. So it's a nice design, and the footing is very stable. It's a gorgeous platform we have up here. Roger, so we're going to be taking a look at the hydraulic operation of this aerial at this moment. Talk us through what you designed here.
Right, so like we saw in the video, this is the primary operator's console, and we've laid it out with everything that the operator needs to know, dynamic load chart right there on the screen. And it's really intuitive, so even like we were talking before, I think even the rookie operator is going to be able to catch on real quick. Now we've got this set up inside the building, so obviously we can't be flying it, but you can see, just like we were down below, you're showing 250 pounds tip load on the left side because we artificially set up that driver's side rear outrigger at the 250 pound stance. Had we set it up all the way out, this would show 750 and 750 on both sides.
I'm going to jump in with Roger just for a second here while we're looking at it. When he's talking about, I know it's hard on the little video screen, but those are little firefighter icons. It's a helmet, it's a firefighter's helmet and face, and it's got 2 on the lower, 3 on the next, 4 on the next, and so the dynamic loading, we're thinking the weight of each firefighter somewhere around 200 pounds, give or take. And so it gives you a really good idea, not just mathematically of what you can do, but there's a really solid visual for where you could put your people at that stance of the particular, of the aerial extended. So really nice graphic, I like that. So
yeah,
just want to jump in.
Yep, and so you can see since we are still in the bed, what you're seeing is what can I do at this elevation of the ladder, and in this case, 250 pounds, you can put one person on there. The minute we would start bringing it out of the bed and swinging to the right, it's going to show us 750. And then as we go up, then it'll show us which zone that we're in. Those then are highlighted, and the operator can see at a glance, what they can actually do on the device. It is a touch screen. There's lots of screens behind there. We're not going to go through them all. I'm going to show you one before we get down off the platform later. But it's a touch screen, so you can do a lot of things on the screen and see a lot of information, especially as a mechanic and all. But I really want to point out that we've got tactile buttons for everything that the operator actually has to do while they're at the scene. So they're not going to be up here paging through, flipping through pages and menus and things. It's all right here. You want your 110 tip lights, you push the button there. You want to go back between the water tower and the rescue mode, it's these two right here. Ladder lights, base lights, all your other lights there, the enable button. And then we laid out the joysticks in a way that we thought was most intuitive. So you've got elevate and depress, you've got extend, you've got retract, and then the middle one is also intuitive. So you push right, you sweep to the right, you push left, you rotate to the left.
That's sweet. I really enjoy seeing it laid out that way for me versus the screen. This is more, to me, more intuitive, easier to handle. And then even my nozzle positions and if I don't have a firefighter at the tip, which I always thought was a waste of a firefighter operate a tip at the end of an aerial device, so I always like the remote monitor. Really easy to see, up, down, stowed, right, left, just really clear, really clear.
Yep. And now you were talking about the manual level gauge inclinometer down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Then we also have stored in here the load charts that you can pull out and set up here if you want to.
Oh, okay, so I could pull out just a regular old-fashioned chart.
Yep, exactly.
Beautiful. So you were talking about other screens. What other screen is available here?
Okay, so we're going to give you a sneak peek on the next video that's coming up, and this one,
cheating.
I think it's going to be exciting. So we're going to go on right here to our advanced rung lighting display, right? And here on this display, here's where you're going to be able to pick the rung lighting, right? And so if we go down here to the ladder lights and push our tactile button, we get ladder lights, and it's way more impressive when you got this thing up and at night. But there's all sorts of different effects that you can pick from, or you can say, hey, you know what is the climbing light that I like the best. Traditional Smeel is going to be, you know, blue, steady blue, but you can pick anything else that you want as well, in any colors, green, whatever you want. So.
Okay, I have to ask.
Yes.
Rocket lights?
Yeah. So that's an effect where it starts out at the base and it shoots all the way up to the tip.
This isn't your grandfather's ladder.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, that is. Okay, that's the cat's pajamas there. That I like that.
And so that's what we're going to get to see some pictures of that at night in the next video.
In the next video, and it's that easy to work.
It is.
So in terms of visibility, if you've got folks working and it's a tough environment, you can kind of set it to where I've got my best visibility, right?
Yeah. You know, some people think that that red is the better night for
sure.
Making sure that you don't get night blindness. I've seen other things where they feel green is the color of choice. So it all depends on what you want.
So it might be, you know, so it might come into atmospheric conditions too. I mean, you might be out on a foggy night and you might want the red, and then you might be out on a clearer night, you might want the green. I mean, there could be a lot of factors, including smoke. So depending on, you know, what kind of environment you're in. So that's, boy, it doesn't get any easier than that.
And then, you know, from a climbing standpoint, and the video shows some of the guys actually climbing the ladder at night with these. It's really easy to see. And of course, on a Smeel device like this, you have nice high rung rails or handrails to give you that stability on a good, strong, stiff ladder. The climb is
I do like the higher rails, especially if you're a taller person. You know, having that higher rail, you can get a better stance on the ladder than, you know, having to reach forward and you lose some of your ergonomics. So I do like that higher rail. And this is a, you know, that's beautiful. That's a nice feel. That's good and nice. That's really nice. I want one.
Yeah.
So, Mrs. Halton, if you're listening,
We can swing a deal.
Can I get one of those? Okay, so now we're going to check out a video about the lighting, which I think you're going to really enjoy, because you just saw inside here, it's not nearly as dramatic as you're going to see in this video, but that is a really easy menu to get to, and these are really nice toggles. So picture me with a gloved hand. This is simple, and these buttons are oversized, so really nice size on the buttons, the switches, and even the manual stop. That's just a nice job, brother. That's a really nice job. So Smart Reach, we've got our slope, so you put them together, and now you've got Smart Reach, slope, you've got sensors, you've got redundancies with the outriggers marked clearly, you've got safety system on top of safety system. This is safety third, and the thing about the colors, we were kind of having some fun with looking at it, but you might have someone who wants a color that makes it better for them. Now you can do it.
Yep.
So pick the color that works for you and use that when you need it. So thank you, Roger, this was great. Hey, Mr. Producer, if you don't mind, let's run the video on the lighting and we'll join everybody back at the desk.
Hi, we're on top of the Smart Reach multi-stance aerial apparatus, and we'd like to highlight a little bit of the hydraulic improvements that we made on the truck. Down here below me is the roto-molded hydraulic tank, filters, cooler, and there actually was a lot of science and engineering that went into this. I've got with me Ryan from Innovative Fluid Power. Ryan, you want to tell us a little bit about the tank and what we did to optimize that system?
Yeah, definitely. So we partnered with Schroeder Industries to do the rotomotor tank. They actually looked at our whole entire system. We calculated the fluid capacities of all the cylinders to find out the minimum volume needed. And then we also look at aeration and pump flows, and we put a diffuser inside this tank so that we could actually operate this truck with a lot less hydraulic fluid, but also a lot more efficiently. We also are doing a much improved job of filtering the hydraulic fluid. We have a high pressure filter on the rear of the truck here, coming right out of the pump, and then we also have a return filter inside here. We're also keeping this truck really cool with a cooler on here, and we also are doing a dynamic cooling mode, just like your car would, where we're actually starting the cooler at a lower temperature at a lower speed, and then ramping that speed up as the temperature increases. With all of those things and the additional hydraulic improvements, this truck will operate a lot cooler, a lot more efficiently, and over the long term, last a lot longer.
Thanks, Ryan. We really appreciate all the work that you've done. We're really excited to see this thing out in use.
Okay, so you might have noticed that was not the lighting video. I spoke out of turn, so my apologies to everybody out there. That was actually the hydraulic reservoir. So we were looking at some of the safety systems that make the hydraulics work, and then the redundancies that are built into it. So Chris, Roger, why don't you just run through that real quick for us? What about the redundancies built into the hydraulics on this particular piece of equipment?
Sure, Bobby. And so it was probably my fault. I get excited about those lights. But this is really exciting too. So we talked a little bit about it in the video, but I just want to emphasize the fact that this truck, all of the electronics, all of the hydraulic valves in the world aren't going to help you out unless you have clean oil and oil at the right temperature. So that's what this is doing for us. We've got some amazing CFD computer. I'm sorry. Fluid dynamics, computational fluid dynamics analysis that we did that really optimizes that hydraulic tank. Super excited about that, about the filters and all, but that's really the basis upon which you have to build a reliable system that's going to work for you every time at every scene. So that's really what that was all about. Just another opportunity to upgrade systems while we were doing some of the redesign work and capabilities.
And I think it's important for our viewers to see the technology behind the technology and inside. So we talked a lot earlier about fit and finish and some of the things that we see, the visual impact that rigs have and the lights. But when you're talking about the hydraulic system, when you're talking about computational fluid dynamics, that's really important stuff. And maintaining those fluids is really important stuff, because the piece of equipment can't operate without it, and it can't operate correctly unless you've got the best tools. So now we're going to give you a visual treat, and we're going to take a look at the video from the lighting system. So
worth the wait.
It was worth it. Mr. Producer, if you wouldn't mind keying up my lighting video, I'd appreciate it. And my apologies again.
Hi, I'm Roger LaCour with Rev Fire Group. I'm our Director of Product Development, and with me is Sam Massa from HiViz. We're going to talk to you today about advanced rung lighting. It's a feature that we have on the Smart Reach apparatus that you see behind us. Sam, you want to tell us a little bit about the technology that's involved here?
Yeah, so a few years ago, we started playing with some tech that was pixel-based LED products that could be used in, whether it was aerials or we're trying to figure out where can this tech be applied. And effectively, the core is a bunch of LEDs that can be individually colored with different intensities at any location. And it's almost like having this supercomputer with no software on it. And we had to come up with what the right application was of the tech. So we developed this particular product to be an aerial lighting system. And working with you guys, obviously, while you were working on the Smart Reach product, developing out the software to control the truck, we kind of partnered so that we could manufacture some really cutting edge software that has like unlimited capabilities, but we knew that you guys had the ability to come up with kind of what are those differentiators that we can boil this down and make it not so complex that it's not actually useful for anybody to use in the field.
Yeah, so we started out by thinking, of course, about safety, which is the thing that's always at the top of our minds. And so in this case, what we're using those rung lights for is to be able to alert the operator to certain things that are going on. For instance, when the device starts to move, the rung lights that are normally steady glowing can flicker. When it gets to the end of its travel, it can flash. We can flash it again when we're moving, in this case with the multi-stance feature, going from a short jack side to a standard side, we can flash again. And so we incorporated the technology that Sam and his company came up with into a real pragmatic approach.
It's really interesting, when you look at the fire service as a whole, finding those next cutting edge areas where you can really impact safety and help first responders. Our mission is to help them work more safely and effectively after dark, and their mission is to protect property and save lives. So when you can meld those things together, especially like working with you guys, and the capacity that you have to boil down all of the complexities of the truck, the electrical system, the lighting tech that we're building, and make something that actually can make a difference, I think that communities around the country are really going to have something cool to find from it.
Yeah, and speaking about communities, so one of the big things that people do with fire trucks is engage with the community, right? And so we were thinking about community events and how can we make this particular technology really pop out there. So we've got pre-programmed parade or event modes, if you will, with lots of cool displays. Put this thing up at night and you're going to be able to see it for miles around in some really amazing things. Sam, you want to tell us about the details of some of those?
Yeah, so some of the event modes are things like the rocket ship, where you can choose any color and it'll shoot up to the top of the aerial and in a staggering type effect. It's more cool than anything else, but I thought it was particularly unique. You can change to a rainbow or multicolored type arrangement on the aerial if you have some need for that sort of thing. Say, for instance, you had like breast cancer month or something, you wanted to turn the aerial pink. You just hit a button and boom, the aerial changes colors. There's a lot of pre-baked functionality that actually makes a difference. I'm trying to climb this aerial. People talk about colors being maybe green. I think you mentioned earlier today we were talking about lighting being useful at night, and there's 12 pre-baked hit the solid color you want, in addition to all those parade modes that are kind of more fun than they are anything else, but they're also built in. Once we've got that tech on the fire truck, it's just the software that we're playing with to make it do unique things.
Sure. And so you've got those built-in pre-programmed versions, but we're custom manufacturer, and if you've got something, let's say a particular color for a football team or a high school, and you want something programmed with some specific colors and some specific modes, we're more than happy to do that for you as well.
So excellent. Well, for high-vis LEDs and the FireTech brand, I'm Sam. If you want to learn more about what we're doing in the space, check out our social channels or visit our website. And for the Rev Group,
thanks, Sam. And for the Rev Group, all you need to do is find your favorite Rev dealer, and they can tell you more about the features and about multi-stands.
Okay, that was cool. That was cool. I never owned a ladder that could, well, I didn't actually own them, but I never worked on a ladder that could do that, right? I wish I had my disco bell bottoms on. I'd be
Can I tell you a quick story?
Sure.
So
Sure dime.
So we're in the plant at Snyder, Nebraska, and we've got Sam in there, who you saw in the last video, and we're prototyping this stuff.
Does he own stock in Starbucks, that guy?
He may. And so we're doing all of this work, and it's just very early on in the project. And there was a few people off to the backside, and I didn't know who they were. We're just working away. Well, by the time we got to the hotel that night, they happened to be a fire department, and they're like, "Hey, can we get that on a rig? Can we get that on a rig?" It's like, you always got to worry about that.
Can we retrofit old Betsy?
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
So.
No,
exciting stuff.
That was neat, and all neat aside, tremendous safety factors involved in that. And so we're just beginning to understand the effects of lighting and how important it is. If you want to really get into some serious gouge, look at the roadway projects we're doing right now, right? With what you can do with different types of lighting in order to increase safety. So although it was great to look at, there's a whole lot of science, there's a whole lot of technology behind that, there's a whole lot of cognitive thought behind what you can do with that in situations to lower that anxiety threshold and to create an environment that's more sustainable and safer for your firefighters. So all joking aside, there's a lot behind lighting and what we're doing with lighting today in the American Fire Service, and that's just a small sampling of what we can do with our aerial devices. So a couple of questions, we're gonna do a couple of questions, then we're gonna do a round table, so I'm not gonna belabor, we got a few really good ones for this though. So touchscreen versus joysticks for controlling an aerial device.
So Roger's opinion is that touchscreens aren't the perfect thing for controlling aerials, and that's why we designed it the way we did. You're not controlling it with the touchscreen at all. There's lots of information you can get through the touchscreen, but everything that you need to do while you're on scene to operate that device is all on tactile buttons.
And I like that, because according to the book of Roger, if I'm quoting it correctly, and I hope I am, touchscreens have some drawbacks, right? In other words, touchscreens are kind of, if I'm correct, they're kind of temperature related to when you putting the pressure of your finger, and there's a temperature issue for touchscreens to work correctly. Isn't that fairly accurate?
To be honest, they used to be. So what we've got on there, you could do everything you need to do on that touchscreen.
Okay.
And we have some technology on other parts of the truck where we say, you know, here's a touchscreen, this is what you're going to do, and these devices are really, really good.
So
but there's a lot of people
these are more pressure and probably light sensitive versus the old type, which was really a heat thing almost.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's important to get out there, because for me, cold weather, your hands freezing. Good luck with the touchscreen. You've all experienced it with your phones. At least my Cricket gives me a hard time when I'm working through that. Right? Everybody over 50 got that joke. So, yeah. So I'm going to take another question that I thought was a pretty cool question. How does the multi-stance work when we're flowing water? Does anything change, or?
It doesn't. The load charts that we give you are just like a traditional SMEAL device, with or without flowing water, 360 degrees all the way around, full extension.
So when I'm looking at those load charts, that's assuming that I'm flowing water.
It is.
That's fantastic. Okay, so the final thing I really want to touch on is we got a positional waterway. Is that still going to work when I'm using multi-stance?
Yes, it is. In fact, it's been upgraded, better, faster, linear actuator, happens really quickly and very accurately.
Well, so what I want to do at this point is we had a lot of information today. We talked about chassis, we talked about fit and finish, we talked about components, we've talked about lighting, we've talked about clean cab, we've talked about a whole host of really important issues in the fire service that relate to our apparatus, construction, design, functionality. So now I'm going to ask all the folks who are on with me today, Chris and Roger, Jeff, Mike, and we're going to go into another room and we're going to go on a Zoom call basically with you. So it's going to be kind of a cool thing. We've got a moderator, her name's Melissa. She's one of the most beautiful people on the face of the planet. And if you have a question, you raise your hand and Melissa will unmute you and you can ask your question live. So you give us about 2 minutes. We'll be joining you on this Zoom call. It's going to be a lot of fun. No holds barred, no profanity. So behave yourself. You know who I'm talking about. So, but we're going to have a live conversation now with all y'all who've been watching today's presentation. Again, I just want to say a quick shout out to our sponsors, our folks at USSC Valor, WS Darley, Hickinson, Whelan, IDEX. You know these companies. These are the people who've been with us for a really long time. These are really, really great companies. Those are the folks who sponsored it. If you wouldn't mind, after we get done today and you wrap up, if you go to their websites and just shoot a quick thank you to them. That's USSC Valor, WS Darley, Hendrickson, Whelan, and the IDEX Corporation. Great people. Thank you so much for sponsoring us today. We had an absolute blast. We're going to go hit the round table. We're going to visit with all of you, and we're going to wrap this thing up. So let's go hit the round table, everybody.